Welcome back to the Wisconsin Road Trip, everybody. On the last episode, we discovered about 75% of the Black Badger Lake map. On this episode, we're going to head into Grainwoods River, discover the whole map and the garage, and then make our way back around to the southeast corner of Black Badger Lake. Let's get started. Grainwoods River is a pretty cool map. It's a lot more rugged than Black Badger, and there's a lot of things in here that can tip you over or destroy your truck. But the first thing we're going to do is run up the hill and discover that first watchtower. Leaving here, it'll be pavement for a little ways. Once we get past this warehouse, we can hang a left, run up into the hills, and we're going to find an upgrade along the way. Grainwoods River is kind of my favorite map out of these two, although both of them are pretty awesome. Nope, this is definitely not the turn I want to take. If we continue up here a little bit further, we can hang a left, and that upgrade is right up here on top of the hill. Getting up to it is a little bit tricky, but if you take a left between this rock and tree, you should be able to get up to the top without any problem. We're going to stay on the hillside a little bit further, and then we'll throw a winch off the side of the lodestar to that tree, just to swing around and make sure we don't tip over and roll down the hill. This first upgrade is the fine-tuned gearbox for all the heavy trucks and any trucks that use the special and advanced special gearboxes. The fine-tune is a specialized gearbox that allows you to do small adjustments in your low gear and reverse gear. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it because I like to do a lot of quick shifting, and the fine-tune is just not responsive enough for me when I'm trying to get in and out of the different gears. It's also really inefficient on fuel. It's actually worse than the off-road gearbox. Now leaving here, we're going to head back down the hill. Just take it real easy. We kind of have to drive along the side hill to get out of here. And this tree is not breakable. But once we get out the bottom, we'll take our first left, and we're going to head straight up the hill. There's a road that goes up to that watchtower. I've noticed there's a lot of mushrooms growing around here. They look kind of funny when you drive over them and they smush. Let's get this first watchtower discovered. Right down there is the rolled steel factory, and also where we're going to find the International Paystar 5600 twin steer. So let's make a trip around the bend and we'll activate the out of nowhere task, the don't push your luck task, and then we'll cruise down to the factory and discover that truck. We can head right out of the back side of the watchtower here, take our first straight, and we're going to follow the river further up into the hills. Most of these back roads out here are leaning pretty hard to the left or right, and there's a lot of really deep dips, so just be extra careful that you don't flip over going through here. Although it's not a big deal with the Scout because we have the autonomous winch, but when you come through here with the bigger trucks, yeah, it can be a problem. Okay, the out of nowhere task has a white Western Star with a fuel tanker that's tipped over. We'll get it activated, and then we can top off on fuel before we head out. Now leaving here, we're just going to drive straight across the river. It's not deep, and it's not much of a road, but basically there's an old prairie trail here. It's going to take us up to the next warehouse. Once again, it's pretty rough through here. And this is the don't push your luck task. Activating it spawns a large pipe down in the river that we need to load up with a mini crane and haul back up here. This will give us access to a limited supply warehouse. So let's head down the hill and we'll go discover that truck. Once you reach this mud puddle, you can actually turn off to the right and go through the trees, and it's kind of a shortcut into the rolled steel factory. As you can see, there's a fence here we can blow down and drive through. And there's the International Paystar. That truck is pretty awesome. It's a 10x10 truck, has a ton of power, but it's horrible on fuel efficiency. It's also unique because it's a heavy truck that does not allow you to use a high saddle with it. However, it does have a 3-slot flatbed and can equip the mini crane and still pull trailers at the same time. So we're going to have some fun with it later on. Let's head across the long bridge here, and there's another task we can activate up here to the right. It's a wooden bridge task. This map is pretty cool. It has a lot of high elevation areas with low rivers running through it, and a lot of cliff sides and steep hills. Now that we have that one activated, we'll get turned around. We're going to drive straight down this road. There's some wood framing just off to the right here that we can use to rebuild that bridge later on. And heading further on, there's another bridge task up here that we can activate. This is the North Bridge task, and this will be a pretty crucial one to get completed right away, so that it gives us access to the rolled steel factory for crafting metal beams later on. Now we can turn around and we'll head back over to that steel factory and continue on with the exploration. There is kind of a deep mud hole here right before you cross the bridge. It's not bad the first time you go through there, but it gets a little worse each consecutive time. I do like this long bridge, you can get cruising. Now we'll just take a right before we get to the factory, and we'll head back up to the top where that warehouse was. The road going up this hill is kind of a rough one. Once again, not too bad going up there with the Scout, but it kind of sucks when you're driving one of the trucks. At the top, we can turn right and continue on down this road. This will allow us to get past the river where that bridge is out that we just activated. This map has so many trees, it's really a cool looking area. And the roads are rough. We got another mud puddle. I'm gonna just go around it, and there's a contest there to the left. Now we're back to the pavement. We can cross this bridge. And on the other side of it, we're gonna find another task. So heading down a little bit further, I'll check the map here. It looks like we can take a right, go underneath this railroad bridge, and that task should be right over there. Just up ahead, you're going to see a Dairy Longhorn 4520 that's been left out here, and a maintenance trailer. We'll get this task activated. It's called the wrong turn. We need to haul both this truck and trailer over to the railway station to open up another warehouse. From here, we're going to head up to that next watchtower that's just up the hill. Make sure you get refueled from this trailer. I kind of forgot when I was leaving here, and I ran pretty low on fuel later on because of it. But we can follow another prairie trail out of here, or a cow track, or a 2-track, depending on where you're from. Let me know what you guys call these small roads. Growing up, we always called them prairie trails. And then eventually this road will come back out to the main road. We're going to take a right on it, and there's another bridge task down the hill that we can activate. And this is the South Bridge task. The cargo requirements are the same as the North Bridge, but we're going to want to do this one second after we have the North Bridge built. Let's turn around and we'll take this back road up through the trees, and it should be a straight shot to that watchtower, which is not too far from here. More mushrooms getting squashed along the way. There's a lot of mushrooms here. We can cross the road, and we'll just run right up the hill here and get our next view of the map. Beautiful. This watchtower opened up a task and a contest, so we can make a mark on Strangest Things. That's a scout task that we can get accomplished right away, and we'll leave here and head right over there. Now when you go down into the trees here, it's kind of a maze. As you can see, the paths, they kind of go all over the place, so just make some marks through if you need to. But don't get discouraged if you get lost driving through here. I know I have many times, and still do. But there's a lot of these trees that are breakable that you can drive over, and it'll let you get through certain areas. I would advise driving to the edge of the path instead of directly on it, because most of the time the path is pretty muddy, and it's unstable. But we'll follow it down the hill, just taking it easy, trying not to blow everything out. My suspension is already pretty low. And then not too much further here, we'll be able to turn to the right and head further down the hill. These big mud puddles, you really do gotta watch out for them, because you'll end up just wasting a lot of time and fuel in there. Look at all those mushrooms. They're everywhere. Alright, we can take it right here, and as you can see up ahead, there's a lot of these breakable trees. We'll just make our own path right through the middle of them. Just knock them over. One good rule of thumb is, if you see breakable trees in a tree line, most likely that's a decent path that you can take through there. Not always, but a lot of the times it is. And I managed to find a stump stuck out here, and got stuck on it twice. Okay, we'll activate the strangest things, and we need to check 3 suspicious activity points around this area. So let's open up the map and we'll make a mark on each of them. I'm gonna head back up to the north to get the first one, and then we'll head southwest across the map and get the other 2. So we'll need to turn around and go back up the way we just came. So the Grainwoods River map actually has a lot of references to alien activity and suspicious activity, and it's kind of interesting because if you read the tasks like this one, you'll see that there's a theme going on with them. There's some conspiracy theorists out here that want us to drive around and check things out for them. I love the storyline. We'll head back up and go through these breakable trees, and the first suspicious activity point is just ahead. And as you can see, it's just a little mound with a bunch of mushrooms growing on it. Now to get to the second one, we'll just hang a left, and we're going to drive up a little ways. You can make some marks out here on the road so you make sure you don't get lost. It can be pretty beneficial. There's more trees to break down heading out of here. And once again, I'm going to make sure to drive around all of these mud puddles. There's no sense wasting our time on them. And that next point is just up ahead here in the trees. And it's another mound with a bunch of mushrooms growing on it. Now to get to the third point, it's a little bit more complicated, because we're going to have to zigzag back and forth along the hillside. So we'll head out the top of this place. There is a big tree up here that I got stuck on a couple times. But eventually I just gassed it and popped over the top. Momentum, right? And then we can follow this hillside, just weaving back and forth until we get to the third point. As you can see, my fuel is getting pretty low. I should have topped off at that maintenance trailer. We do have fuel reserves in the box of the truck though. I wouldn't really advise driving through the trees to try to take shortcuts. Most likely you'll end up getting stuck out there. A lot of times it looks like you can get through them, only to find a stump or something, and you just get pinned in there. so do your best to stick to the main roads. Although to get to this last spot, we will have to drive out into them. And what do you know, it's another mound with mushrooms growing on top. Interesting. Nothing unusual here, except for the hordes of huge mushrooms on the hills. That's a funny one. Okay, we got that task complete. From here, we're going to run over to the log station and then cross the river to get to that next watchtower. So as you can see, we got about half the map discovered. I'm going to top off my fuel while I'm here. There will be another place to get fuel in the southwest corner. So let's just break down the trees heading out of here, and that logging station is just up to the right. Now I just noticed that there's some wood framing down there to the left, so I'm actually going to drive down the hill so we can discover that and make sure it shows up on our map. We'll alter our path a little bit. There's also a contest down here. Alright, perfect. Let's reset the markers real quick. That's the point where we're going to cross the river, and then we'll head over to the watchtower. I'm going to use about half my repair points just to fix my suspension. I'm not too worried about the engine and fuel tank just yet. I usually like to leave the fuel tank as the last thing to repair, and only fix it when it breaks completely, or close to it. Mostly because the fuel tank doesn't usually require many repair points to fix it. Most of the time it's like 50, and that way we don't waste a whole lot on it. It's always good to have a few repair points just to get your suspension back up if it blows out completely. Okay, we can zigzag through the trees, and we'll get down to the shoreline here, and I'll show you where we can cross the river. There's a couple spots you can do it, but there's one spot that's kind of the best in my opinion. Just because the current is pretty strong, and if you stick to the shallow areas, you're a lot less likely to get pushed downstream and washed away. So this spot right here has a direct path that goes across both rivers. Once we get out the other side, I'm going to take a left, and we'll head back up into the trees. There's a few paths up here you can take. It doesn't really matter which one you do. Some of them are worse than the other ones, but when you're driving a Scout, it's not such a big deal. It's a lot more nimble and has the autonomous winch if we need it. Now going up the hill, after a little ways, you're going to see that there's a road that turns off to the left and a little wooden bridge. I'm going to take that turn because there's an upgrade sitting over here that we can go pick up as well. So we'll cross both of these bridges, and then straight up ahead you'll see a mound off to the right with some trees on it, and there's that next upgrade. Let's get it. And I accidentally X'd out of it right away. But this was the fine-tuned gearbox for the Scouts, the smaller Scouts. It wouldn't work on the Lodestar because the Lodestar uses a truck gearbox. Now from here, we'll just follow the road around a little ways, and we'll head over to that next watchtower, which isn't too far. You can see there's a house off to my right. I'm actually going to turn and cut through the trees here, because there's a wide open spot, and we'll take a shortcut over there. Although I would advise probably going around the right side of the house. As you'll see later on, there's a task over there that I forgot to get. There's that next watchtower, not too far up ahead, but there is a pretty big ditch here that we have to cross. So we'll drive up to the wooden bridge and hang a right on it to get over there. Alright, let's get this watchtower. As you can see, I forgot to activate that classified task when we just came by that house, so we're gonna have to backtrack and do that. There's also an upgrade just down the hill from the Watchtower. We'll need to make sure we get that. And then we'll head over to the fuel storage zone, and we'll activate only for the worthy and get topped off with fuel. There's a free fuel carrier trailer over there. So I'm gonna turn around leaving here and just go back the way we came. I can probably cross the bridge. Well, actually, I think I'll go get that upgrade first. That way we don't have to come back over here. And it's pretty close. So if we just follow this little path around the bottom of the hill, off to the left is that upgrade. I'm gonna cut down through the trees. There's a little bit of a cliff here that I'm gonna go down. But I lost control and flipped over. Luckily, there's some trees here to winch to. Try to get this thing back upright so we can drive down into the swamp and get this next upgrade. This is the engageable diff lock for the Paystar 5600, so that's good to have. From here, we're going to head back over to that classified task and get it activated. That's another one that we can do right away. More suspicious alien activity in the area. So what I think that they were going for is they were implying that UFOs were out here in the woods, and wherever they were at, mushrooms started growing in that area, which is kind of funny. Okay, we're over here, let's get it active. And this is another conspiracy theorist. Apparently some treetops have mysteriously disappeared at night, and he wants us to drive around and check out the spots. So we're gonna have to head to the west to get to the first point. We can make a little mark on this bridge too. That's where we'll cross, and we'll go check it out for him. The anomalous activity points. When you get to this bridge, you can also just drive to the left of it and go across the ditch. You'll probably have less of a chance of getting your tires stuck in there. I'm sure that's the route we'll be taking when we come through here with the bigger trucks. Just up ahead is that first point. It gets really tight now getting through these trees to get to these points, because they're basically right in the middle of the woods. So it definitely pays to have a smaller truck to do this with. And as you can see, there's a bunch of stumps out here where the trees have been taken away. More UFO activity, I'm guessing. And we'll head straight out the other side. Let's run up to that fuel storage zone. We're getting pretty low on fuel now. If we would have topped off at that maintenance trailer, we'd have quite a bit more of a buffer. So remember to do that. But we made it over here just in time. With 33 liters to spare, we'll get topped off with fuel. Now this trailer is a free one. It's not associated with any tasks or contracts. So if you're playing hard mode, you can take that back out of here and use it for other stuff. Let's activate this task only for the worthy, and it's going to give us access to a fuel refilling zone here, like a gas station. We'll open up the map and we'll make another mark on each of the remaining activity points. We need to head back over by the sawmill to get the next one. So I'm gonna just head north out of here, following these different paths along through the woods. Then we'll turn off and head back to the east. This bridge here is ridiculously bad. It's literally 2 planks. It makes these other ones look pretty good. Now that we've reached this big ditch here, we'll just take a right and head east back over to the sawmill. The next activity point is on the way there. You definitely don't want to drive down into that rut. It's pretty steep, so you'll probably roll over, and then it's really rough down in the bottom. So just stay up here on the edge. Now straight up ahead you can see there's a P12 with a crane add-on, and that's the one we need to rescue for the Only for the Worthy task. But to the right of it is that next activity point. We'll drive up here through the trees, and we got more stumps here where the UFOs have cleared out the treetops. Now I tried to just continue east out of here, but the trees are really tight, so I had to back up and get turned over. The problem is if you accidentally get wedged between these stumps, you might not be able to get out without winching your truck sideways. So just take it nice and slow. And here's the sawmill. The sawmill is a wooden plank crafting zone, so you need to haul logs over here to craft the wooden planks. We'll go beyond it, continue to the east, following this back road, and we'll get that last anomalous activity point. It's not too far away. In my opinion, it feels pretty good to get these scout tasks over with right away, so you don't have to worry about dealing with them later on when you get more focused on the bigger contracts. We can hang a left in through the trees. It's not too bad getting in this one, kind of a wide open space, and we'll get this last point discovered. Alright, classified is done, and we opened up a new task on the map. So the task that we unlocked is the invasion task. It's back over by the first watchtower that we found when we came in through the Black Badger Lake gateway. We'll have to head back over there eventually to get it activated. But from here, we're going to head over to the main road, so we can just make a mark on it up there, and we can go discover the rest of this map. Some more mushrooms. I'm just following this path back and forth through the trees, heading towards my marker. We got another one of those little sketchy bridges. Drive across that, and we'll follow this road up the hill. That main road is just up ahead. And there it is. Now that we've reached it, we can continue on to the east, and there's another road up here that'll take us back out of the woods. Once you reach this T, just follow it to the right and just stay on the main part of it. There's a few houses back here. And further up, you'll see there's some railroad tracks we need to cross. We'll cross them and follow the road to the right. And we've got a crafting area here that we can use later on for one of the contracts. We'll pass right through there, and on the other side of it is the garage. Let's get it discovered. Okay, now that the garage is discovered, I'm going to run through it just to get repaired and refueled, and we'll head back out the other side. We're going to get started right away on another scout task. So we'll just head east up the road, and we'll go activate the trailer in the river task. The trailer in the river task requires us to go retrieve a scout cargo trailer that has 2 consumables loaded onto it. We'll need to go pick it up and bring it back up the hill to this house. So passing through, there's a trail that goes down through the trees, down the hillside, and it'll take us right to it. You don't have to be too concerned going through here. It's pretty uneven and you can flip over. But for the most part, there's trees to winch yourself back up to them, as long as you can reach the trees. If you flip over in the middle of the path, You might not be able to, although the garage isn't too far away. Okay, once we get to the bottom, we'll just hang a right and we'll follow the shoreline here around these trees, and we can cross the river on these rocks. And there's the trailer. This one's a little bit of a pain because you have to drive out into the muddy water to get to it, and then trying to get back out, you can get stuck in the mud pretty easily. But there are some trees here to winch to. Just do your best not to flip the trailer over. We can cross the river and head back up to the house. We're going to follow the same path that we took to get down here. The Loadstar is a pretty good truck for pulling these cargo trailers. It has plenty of power and can handle the weight pretty well. You might have a little bit of a struggle heading back up the hill, but just try to keep your momentum. I'm throwing it in high, and I'm going to go as far as possible with it. High gear is good for climbing hills and pulling loaded trailers. You might want to do your best to try to stay off the path though, just off to the edge of it, wherever possible. And now I started spinning out, so I had to go back to auto. Right at the top. But it does get kind of steep there. We made it, we'll get those delivered, and trailer in the river is now complete as well. From here we're going to head west to go get that next watchtower. We can head right back out to the main road, and we'll turn left and go back down towards the garage. We actually burned quite a bit of fuel on that little journey, so if you wanted to go through the garage to get topped off, now would be a good time to do it. But I don't think you'll need to. Now just before the garage, we can take a right and head up this dirt road, and we'll follow it up into the hills. There's some more wood framing out here that we can discover. So when you get up here by this grain silo, you can take a left and cross the tracks again. Another good spot to catch some air, and we'll discover more wood framing and another task. This is the order for logs task, where we'll need to bring 2 loads of long logs over here. There isn't any logging station in this map that has long logs, so we'll have to bring them over from the first map. Just up the hill to the right is that next watchtower. Look at all those trees. Okay, from here we'll run up the hill and activate mobile telephony, and then head down the hill and we can activate hazardous cargo. So let's get turned around and head back out to the main road, and we'll take a left. That task is just right around the corner. So this task requires us to retrieve a sideboard semi-trailer that's loaded with oversized cargo. We'll need to bring it back over here and turn it in. From here we can continue on through the trees. There's a trail that goes right down to the bottom. This one gets pretty uneven about halfway down. And there is some mud. I've definitely flipped many bigger trucks coming down this hill, going too fast. But thankfully, there's a bunch of mushrooms along the way. We can go past this wood framing, and then we'll just cross the tracks, and the next task is right over here. This should be the last task that we need to activate, except for the invasion task that's back at the beginning. So from here, we'll head up the hill, we'll go get that last watchtower, and then this map will be discovered. The only thing remaining on this map now will be the invasion task and that upgrade that's on the other side of the wooden bridge. Technically, we could get to that upgrade, but I'm not going to bother driving over there. It's kind of out of the way from where we're at. But just down the road here a little ways, we can take a left, and we'll follow this second road up the hill. This goes back up to the highway. There's also another gateway over here that takes you back into the first map. We're going to go straight past this turnoff, and the highway is just up ahead. Okay, once you go past the Moose Crossing, you can follow the road down a little ways, and we'll take the first left turn off, and that'll take us to the last watchtower. This is kind of a pretty view up here. It's a very scenic region. And this is probably the best watchtower for getting a view of it. Let's turn around. We're going to head over to that second gateway and go back into the Black Badger Lake map. We still need to discover the southwest corner of that map. So let's cruise over there now. I'm getting pretty excited to get started doing the work here. Wisconsin is not a very big region. We should be able to complete it fairly quickly. But the jobs here are somewhat challenging. Some of them are anyway. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. I do like the fact that there's a main highway that travels right through both of these maps. It kind of makes it interesting, as you have a way to quickly cruise around and get to the different areas. Alright, now we're in the southwest corner of Black Badger Lake. And the last watchtower is actually right next to us. So we can cruise up there and get that discovered, and there's a task along the way that we can activate as well. Once you get on the other side of this bridge, you'll see a path that goes up through the rocks. And by this house is that next task. This is the Lost Order task, where we need to recover 2 oil barrels from a train wreck down by the railway station. We'll need to load them with a mini crane and bring them up here and use manual unloading to turn them in. We can follow this road up to the left, and that watchtower is just around the corner. It makes kind of a spiral path around it. Okay, now as you can see, the fuel station is just down the hill from us, so we're gonna run down there and get refueled. We're getting kinda low. We'll just backtrack our way out of here, run past down that house, and get back to the main road. There is a really cool contest on this map called Cliffhanger Race. It's one of my favorite contests in the game. Probably best done with a scout, but if you're interested in checking it out, that would be a good one to do. I did it with the loaf one time on a live stream, and it was actually a lot of fun. Just up ahead is the fuel station. Just in time. Alright, we're all topped off, and there's another bridge task just up ahead that we can go activate. This is the railway bridge task. And now from here, we're going to turn around and head back over, activate lost supplies, and grab that upgrade that's right next to it. We already activated saving the farmer's machinery from the other side of the map, so we won't need to go down there. You can drive across country to get over to that spot, but where we're going, it really wouldn't save us any time, and it would be much more of a headache. So we'll just follow the road. These highways are the SnowRunner equivalent to fast traveling. I just noticed my suspension is already down to about half, so I'm going to get that repaired real quick. Used about half of my repair points again. These maps are really rough on your truck. Now once you get to the gateway, just take a left and we'll head down this dirt road. There is some brick framing up here to the right. I'm just going to drive up the hill a little ways just to make sure it shows up on my map later on. And then I'll back out of here and continue down. It gets a little bit muddy, but if you stick to the left, it's not too bad. And we'll cross the river, and right up here at the house is that next task. So the lost supplies task requires us to load up 2 service spare parts that have fallen off down into the river. We'll need to use a crane to access those as well, and haul them back over here. We can take the first right and go up the hill. That upgrade is just up here around the corner. Once you get to these rocks, just cut off through the trees and just drive straight up to it. This is the engageable all-wheel drive for the Paystar 5600. So we now have all the upgrades for that truck. You can see those service spare parts are right down there by that bridge. From here, we're going to run over and grab that last upgrade. Then we're going to make a loop around, head back into the other map, and get that invasion task activated. So we'll backtrack our way back down the hill, and once we get to the Y in the road, we can take a right this time. There's some more metal framing over here to the left. We're going to just drive straight past that. There's a river crossing up ahead. This river has a pretty strong current. I do try to stay to the left where it's a little more shallow. There's some rocks to drive on. It kind of helps to get through there a little easier. And then a fairly steep hill coming out of it will take us back up to the top. This hill isn't any problem at all for a scout like this, but when you're driving a big loaded truck, it can actually get pretty difficult to drive up. Let's take this left turn that goes across the hillside. It's going to cut a little bit of time off of our journey. Then we won't have to drive through that log station. Now that we're back to the main road, we can continue on to the left, and we'll turn off in the trees right up there and go get that last upgrade. There's a really nasty water hole down here. I like to try to drive around it if possible. Then we can cruise up to the top, and if you remember on the last episode when we rescued that Chevy, that's just over the hill here. We'll turn off into the trees and head over to this upgrade. It gets kind of deep and muddy through here, so just stay to the edge if possible. Watch out for that tree. Then we'll just drive up this ledge, cut through the trees, and we'll grab this last upgrade. This is the fine-tuned gearbox for all of our medium-sized trucks. So anything that can use an off-road or high-range gearbox, this will be the one to replace it. Now from here, we're going to head back through the brick crafting area, go past the quarry, and head back up to that gateway that we ended the last episode on. We should have everything in this map discovered, all of the upgrades, and all of the tasks activated, except for one that's down by the farm on the northeast corner of the map. I'm not going to get that one just yet because it was kind of out of the way for our journey, but we'll be heading by there pretty soon, and we'll get it activated then. It does spawn some cargo on the west side of the map, but it shouldn't be a problem to leave it till later on. Here's that house where we turned in the Chevy and the brick crafting factory. We're going to run through it and follow the road out the other side. It shouldn't take long to get up to that gateway from here. I was wondering if this was a shortcut through the trees, but it doesn't look like it. So I'm just going to head up around the corner and follow the main road. We're actually really close now. And that invasion task isn't too far from the gateway once we get into the other map. Okay, here's our turnoff. As you can see, we left the lodestar up here on the last episode. We still need to repair this one, but we'll worry about that later on. And we're back. We can make a mark on invasion, that's where we're headed, and the only way to get to it is to run down the hill from the Watchtower, and there's a wooden jump that'll take us right up there. So this time I'm going to take the first left after the bridge. In my opinion, this seems to be the quickest way to get to the Watchtower. Last time we didn't take this path because we had to get an upgrade along the way, but this time we don't. So we'll just follow this path up around the corner. It's a pretty decent path through here. Okay, we'll just drive up like we're gonna get the Watchtower, even though we've already discovered it. And then there's a hill that runs down to that wooden jump. We'll make a mark on it just so we can make sure we know exactly where we're driving to. You'll have to break down some breakable trees along the way. And then you want to make sure you have enough speed to get across the jump, or else you'll fall down in the bottom. The lodestar took quite a bit of damage there. Anyway, this is the invasion task. We'll get it activated, and this spawns 2 vehicle spare parts out in the alien landing spot, which we're going to have to check out in a later episode. From here, we're going to rebuild all the bridges on both maps, but we're going to save that for the next one. Really appreciate you coming out again, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.